Hi! So today we're going to chat about how to add field trips and activities to your homeschool easily when you homeschool year round. The best way to do it that I have found is when you're planning. So whether you start penciling things in from the time you lay out your yearly plans, or if you add them in when you do quarterly plans, or monthly plans, or even weekly plans. I personally have found that I prefer to add them when I do my monthly planning because that allows me to put away funds to budget for it. It allows me to include my kids in planning them, whether it be having them do math lessons regarding how much it's going to cost per person, how much it's going to cost for the entrance, for food, for gas, for how many miles it's going to be, how much time it's going to take. Field trips are a great way to add math to your homeschool. I love getting my kids included into our field trip planning. Also, it allows me to try and include my husband when he can get the time away to join us on our field trips. The best thing that I've seen is when you take the time to look into your area. Don't just think of the everyday field trips. Go to the museum, go to an aquarium. Really dig in and look into things in your area that are good field trips. I remember my mom one time when she was a field trip coordinator for our homeschool group. She took us to all of the communication places. So we went to the telephone company, we went to the radio, we went to the newspaper, and she put together an entire almost a year's worth of field trips based on communication, and it was amazing. I remember it to this day, and it's been a bit since I graduated. So look at the unusual or the field trip opportunities that your kids will really be interested in. So take some time to really think about your field trips. Don't just pick the ones, that you usually go to or that most people go to. I also recommend that if your kids have interest in something, really ask them, okay, what would you like to do? How would you like to experience that? And find a field trip to do it. And another great way to incorporate field trips is virtually. Sometimes you can't go on field trips, whether it be you can't fit it in your budget, or it's just too far, or it's nowhere in your area even. Take some time to look online because there are a lot of online virtual field trip opportunities that you can find. Webcams do amazing things now. And so take time to look at those. As far as activities are concerned, I have found that if I do not purchase my activity supplies in advance, I usually do it about a month in advance. If I don't purchase them in advance, the activity isn't going to happen. So when I do my monthly planning, that's when I start really planning for my field trips and for my activities. I get any resources, supplies that we're going to need, library books, whatever I'm going to need for those activities or field trips, I get them set up and have a list in place a month before we're going to need them, because otherwise it just falls through the cracks and I do it's not that important, we're still learning. Another thing to keep in mind is when you plan activities in your homeschool, make sure you include activities based on your children's learning styles. So if you have hands-on learners, you're going to want to give them as many opportunities to go on field trips or do activities that really allow them to get their hands dirty. If you have visual learners, make sure you use things that they can understand and that helps them grasp the topic or subject you're covering. So documentaries for your older kids, science videos, anything that is visually engaging for them is important. Your auditory learners, audiobooks are great. They're great. Doing interviews with people, if they have a specific, job that they're thinking of having or taking when they get older, then allow them to interview somebody. My daughter loves animals, so she has spoken with veterinarians, she's spoken with people who run rescues, and she loves just picking their brain and talking to them. So make sure you use your children's learning styles as part of your field trip and activity plans. I try with my kids to do one activity a week and I vary the subject. So we do an activity for science one week, and the next week we do one for history. I want to keep them engaged in as many subjects as possible, but I don't want to get focused on just one subject. I want it to be a rotation. I also try and do one field trip a month. Now, again, field trips shouldn't just be the everyday normal thing. Sometimes we go for hiking. It doesn't cost a penny. We just drive there. Or sometimes we walk there because of where we live. Sometimes we go to a museum. It costs a little money. Sometimes we go to an aquarium. That's something I definitely have to budget in because it's a more expensive field trip. We also do a lot of traveling. So we do field trips along the way. We went to the Grand Canyon last November, and we went and saw a lot of really cool things on the West Coast, but that was a once in a lifetime probably experience for us, and you don't always get to do those things. But just look for opportunities to get your kids out of the four walls of your home and go experience learning, whether it be an expensive field trip like an aquarium or a day hiking with a picnic in your backpack. However you find that works for you to plan field trips and activities in your homeschool, just make sure you make time to do fun things like that with your family.